I wanna know what you, yeah. I wanna know what you want. My niggas gon' blow at you, yeah. My niggas gon' blow at you down.
Yo, how's it going, gang? I know it's been a long time coming, hasn't it? The last video I did was about the death of Takeoff when that whole thing happened, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know how to follow that video up. So yeah, my bad. If you think about it, what I did was the equivalent of taking a shit in the middle of a crowded party and just walking out right after. So yeah, not cool of me, I'll admit that. But today we're gonna be talking about something I've been thinking about in my time away from creating content. So there was this kind of poll conducted on who the top hip-hop media figures were and ranking them in order, and in the top 3 we got probably by no surprise, of course, Charlemagne the God at number 3, Akademiks at number 2, and Joe Budden in the number 1 ranked spot. Personally, I think it's really cool to see how the top 2 figures or names in hip-hop literally like came from the same show. So even if everyday struggle isn't really a thing anymore, you know, it still exists in spirit, and these two haven't loosened their grip that they have over the hip-hop culture. And it made me really reflect about the perception that these two have, you know, their way about going about covering hip-hop media and their average audience member. You see, I essentially grew up at this point. Yeah, it's crazy to say, but I essentially grew up watching DJ Akademiks, and at this point he built himself covering the artists that were, you know, popular when I was like 15, 16 years old, which in hip-hop, I guess, or in music in general, is probably the most important demographic of people. And he would just go on and cover all of the current events that were going on in hip-hop and, you know, Chicago. So there was a lot of interesting things going on there. Whereas Joe definitely appears to a older, dare I say, out of touch demographic that doesn't really understand the dynamics of the newer hip-hop culture. So Joe doesn't really tackle situations with the younger artists, but Joe himself understands the inner workings of the entertainment industry, and so he's able to cut through a lot of the bullshit just by being himself and throwing in some hot takes. But in terms of what they do, I think Akademiks has a way easier job than Joe Budden on paper, because Akademiks can just break the news and be unbiased, whereas Joe's whole brand is being the biased guy who's gonna say some true but probably inflammatory shit. But see, there is in where the problem or the disconnect lies, because while Akademiks is a media juggernaut in the hip-hop space and quite literally like one of the main sources of informations in this space, this dude is biased as shit, bro. And while it's highly entertaining, it's quite literally diametrically opposed to the style of content that he's producing. And I think that is what lends itself to why a lot of non-fans dislike him and have a certain perception of him.
One's gotta go. Charlemagne the God, Joe Budden, and Akademiks.
Akademiks.
Akademiks for sure, because he doesn't stand for anything. He stands for what's funny.
What you mean what do you mean I stand for what's funny? Like I'm on some such shit, like I'm a funny guy, like we call it like I'm a fish or something like that.
So for years, there's been this contingent of the hip-hop demographic that doesn't really respect DJ Akademiks or care for his opinion. And for the first couple years of his YouTube career and the everyday struggle and all that, he was branding himself as the corny guy who's just like, you know, the biggest super fan. So he started creating videos. But the problem is, in hip-hop, nobody respects niggas like that, bro. Let's be honest, bro. In my personal opinion, that was always like the problem with his prior marketing strategy, because while he did, you know, break things down analytically and gave the facts, people really just didn't want to listen to the opinion of a self-proclaimed nerd who they said never got out of the house, you know. So the rappers and the street dudes didn't respect him because he had no street cred and he was snitching, as they call it. You know, it's not really snitching, but whatever. And the older heads, like more around Joe Budden's age, they didn't respect him because they saw him as someone who didn't have the life experience to really back up the things he says like Joe can. I think that's when, you know, we get into the 6ix9ine and the post 6ix9ine era of DJ Akademiks' career. That's when he started to switch up his marketing a bit and fight back against that perception that was being spread about him. He ripped the page out of 6ix9ine's book and just started like feuding and beefing with other artists and media personalities. And when he became 6ix9ine's friend, he showed that he had no problem getting close to an artist to the point where he doesn't really want to be too critical of them because it might ruin their friendship.
And ultimately, he made a choice. That's not something I could control.
okay? Regardless, that's still my friend. I don't care, right? Because my friendship with him was not that. My friendship with him was on a one-on-one level, and I still am friends with him.
So essentially what we have here building up is two extremes on both sides of the field. He has no problem with beefing with artists and downplaying their careers and success, like in the case of Freddie Gibbs, but then he also does the exact opposite and props up the artists that he has a personal relationship, like in the case of 6ix9ine.
Well, you got an album dropping the 30th, so now you got rhymes and you want to bait me into some shit. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you on social media. I treat you like every one of my ops. When your first week numbers come out, nigga, that's when I activate, nigga. You ain't gonna get me hella lit and hella excited before. When your first week numbers come out, nigga, that's when I activate, nigga. Cause I pray to see all my enemies flopped, and all of them flopped. And when they flopped, they all came back to my fucking knees. Y'all can name every single one of them pussy ass niggas. The video I'm about to post is a good video for him. He said, "This that nigga X pouring the honey in my mouth." Pause.
All right, cool. After you get that, you gonna post this video.
But is that gonna heal the bruises?
I know 6ix9ine is kind of relevant in the past couple weeks due to him getting jumped in a fucking like LA Fitness by some cholos or whatever weird shit they be getting into. Before a span of some months, Akademiks was really the only one propping 6ix9ine up and keeping him relevant via updates on his stream. Which I'm not saying he can't have his personal relationship or whatever, you know. Though I have my own opinion on 6ix9ine, you know, he literally lied to his fans, whatever. But I think in a way it really shows that Akademiks is willing to take the hit on his perception in order to garner personal connections with artists and people he believes will benefit him financially or content wise. And you know, once you start to look at things from this lens, it all starts to make a bit more sense. You know, there's a reason why Ak and 6ix9ine would remain friends if Ak is just gonna get all of the exclusive 6ix9ine interviews. And I think that framing really makes a lot of sense if you look at a lot of the relationships that Akademiks has fostered in the last like 3 to 5 years. If you take a zoomed out look at the whole landscape, it's obvious that there's a propensity to talk to the most inflammatory niggas on the planet. It isn't even the issue itself. Like you could have them on and have whatever wild conversation you want to have, but the issue is when you double down and agree with a nigga like Charleston White, bro.
Death to all Crips and Bloods. Death to all GDs and BDs. May they all die like King Von. May they all die like Drakeo the Ruler. May they all die like Nipsey Hussle in vain.
I hate Asians. I'm a hateful I hate Asians. We hate gays. I hate Johnny Dane. I don't eat Chinese food. Only time I ever wanted some Chinese was at a bathhouse. Chinese slave. I think Chinese babies should be nigga and killed and used as alligator bait. The Twin Towers. Everybody died in the Twin Towers. Them people.
I'm gonna have to double the security when I bring this nigga to New York. I'm gonna have to double the security. I don't think Charleston would be saying this on stage in New York though. It's a joke. This is a joke. Remember he says this is a skit. You're not gonna say this on stage in New York, okay? Relax.
When you do that, you are literally just taking your credibility and pissing it away. Especially when eventually that same person that you were sticking up for would go around and just spit on your name the same way that Charleston White did. So I definitely think that Akademiks' content style took a shift towards something that is heavily biased, but you know, I'll admit super entertaining. But it does sensationalize a lot of the hip hop stories because Ak himself manages to become a part of the narrative due to the sheer size of his platform. Like, I know niggas don't want to talk about it, but in the case of Meg and Tory, he was so adamantly on Tory's side that him and a bunch of other people basically like looked dumb as hell for having such a strong, openly biased opinion that they later doubled down on, and now they're trying to make it seem like some injustice was done to Tory Lanez. Like, nah bro, just accept the fact. And personally, I'm so glad that whole thing is over because it kind of became like politics. You know, everybody wanted to choose a side. They either wanted Tory to be completely innocent or for Meg to be some fucking evil James Bond villain who's twirling her mustache in the corner or some shit. Personally, I really didn't have a strong opinion on the matter, so I held my judgment, but I didn't never think that Tory Lanez couldn't have been the one to shoot her. Like, that's the whole point of having a fair trial in the first place, is so you can reserve judgment. Innocent until proven guilty and all that shit, you know? And with the way he was tweeting, I was like, oh yeah, this nigga might have shot her, bro. He might have did it. It's like I said earlier, okay? I think Akademiks altered the style of his content to be more entertainment focused on a whole. So instead of removing his personal bias, he instead amplifies it by having opinionated people on his platform, and it always just reflects poorly on him, because instead of being an honest person and like having a good dialogue and calling people out when they say something wrong, he instead chooses to shield his friends from criticism and try to downplay situations with the people he has personal connections with. It seems like in the case of some people, like with artists or with like popular content creators, in order to like not upset the audience, he will just like not ever be critical of those people. And I think that literally just has to be for content. Like he just wants to keep being able to milk content off of them. Now, like, again, I'm not trying to say Akademiks has to stop associating with these people or stop being friends with them or stop making content with them. He's a grown-ass man. He can do whatever he wants. But I don't think that he realizes that it's these situations, like when he goes on Fresh and Fit, that makes it so that a lot of people are starting not to look at him like seriously as a totally like credible source of information, and more as a platform that provides like sensationalized entertainment.
All that cap you been doing on motherfucking Fresh and Fit, Big Ak is here now.
And maybe that's what he wanted all along, you know, to essentially become the new world star hip hop. In a sense, it's Akademiks hip hop now. So tell me what you guys think. If you managed to stick around this long into the video, you should consider subscribing to the channel and checking out some of my other content. I cover a lot of hip hop topics on my channel, and I like having these introspective and sometimes meta conversations about the music industry. I never really saw a lot of people doing that. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check me out. And for my B+ gang, y'all already know what it is. I'll see you guys in the next video.